You know that feeling when you open a book expecting something normal? A recipe, a notebook, a map, anything useful? And the first page makes you stop cold. The Voynich Manuscript does that on a civilization scale. It's a real book, about 23 by 16 centimeters, packed with drawings of plants, stars, little naked figures in baths, jars, diagrams, and pages of writing that nobody has been able to read with confidence. And the maddening part is that it doesn't look fake. It looks careful, intentional, like somebody had a plan and then vanished before leaving the key. That's the mystery. If I were standing with you and we were flipping through it together, I'd point first at the material, not the symbols. The parchment has been radiocarbon dated to somewhere between 1404 and 1438 CE. So the thing itself is genuinely medieval, not a modern stunt, not a clever forgery from some bored collector with too much time and a grudge against historians. Medieval. And that matters because now you're not looking at a made-up riddle. You're looking at a real object that crossed 6 centuries without giving up its story. And then it gets weirder, because the book seems to be organized, almost stubbornly so. Scholars usually sort the pages by what they show. Herbal pages with full plants, astronomical pages with circular charts and zodiac-like images, balneological pages with people in baths and water systems, cosmological pages with big fold-outs, pharmaceutical pages with isolated plant parts and jars, and then a shorter run of text people often call the recipe section. That's already strange enough. It feels like somebody wanted to make an encyclopedia of practical knowledge, maybe medicine, maybe natural philosophy, maybe both, but used a writing system we still can't access. So you get the shape of a serious book without the content, which is rude, in an impressively committed way. And the reason people keep coming back to it is that Voynichese, the name scholars use for the script, behaves like language in a lot of measurable ways. Word frequencies aren't random. Certain word shapes show up more often at the beginnings or ends of lines. Its entropy, the statistical measure of unpredictability, sits in that awkward middle space where it doesn't look like ordinary gibberish, but it also doesn't map cleanly onto any known language family. If it were pure nonsense, we'd shrug and move on. If it were a straightforward cipher, somebody probably would have cracked it by now. But it lives in the irritating, fascinating middle, where it keeps looking meaningful without handing over a translation. And here's where the mystery stops being abstract and starts feeling almost personal. People have worked hard on this thing. Cryptographers, linguists, historians, hobbyists, and modern machine learning systems have all taken a swing at it. Some proposals call it Latin shorthand. Some say it's a Romance language. Some say it's a constructed system. Some say it's a cipher layered over a real language. None of those claims has passed independent verification across the full manuscript. That matters. A translation has to work page after page, not just on one pretty example you can crop for a thumbnail. And the Voynich Manuscript has been terrible at rewarding confidence. If you want one name to hold on to, it's Wilfrid Voynich, the bookseller who acquired the manuscript in 1912 from a Jesuit estate at Villa Mondragone near Rome. That's where the modern mystery gets its name. But the manuscript's earlier path is murky. There are hints that it may have been in the orbit of Rudolf II's court in Prague in the late 1500s or early 1600s, because later ownership notes referred to it and connected to a broader early modern world of collectors, alchemists, and people who loved a good secret a little too much. The gap before that is still the gap, and that gap is where the book keeps escaping us. We can trace where it ended up. We can't fully trace where it began. That missing stretch is one reason the Voynich Manuscript matters outside the rare book world. It's a live test of how humans deal with uncertainty. We see a pattern and want meaning. That instinct is useful. It's how we learn, read faces, detect danger, build science. It's also how we fool ourselves. The Voynich Manuscript is a stress test for that part of the brain. If you're reading headlines, checking an AI answer, or deciding whether a confident claim is real, the same question is in play. Does this thing have structure, or am I projecting structure onto it? The manuscript keeps forcing that question in the most elegant way possible. There's also something almost comforting in the fact that Yale keeps the original under tight control while the pages are fully digitized and publicly available. You can study it from anywhere now. You do not need a passport to stare at the same strange pages that have stumped experts for over a century. That openness matters. It means this is not a sealed off relic guarded by one institution's mystery cabinet. It's a shared problem, a global one. And that's part of why people stay hooked, because the book hasn't just survived history, it's entered the internet age still unresolved. That is a pretty powerful career move for a manuscript. So, what do I actually think is happening here? Honestly, the most evidence-based answer is the least glamorous one. We don't know yet. The parchment is real. The writing is structured. The illustration suggests some kind of technical or encyclopedic purpose. The provenance has fragments, not a full chain. And every grand decipherment so far has run into the same wall. It works somewhere, then breaks somewhere else. That doesn't mean the answer is mystical. It means the answer is probably hidden in a mix of language, convention, and history that we still don't understand well enough, which is humbling and useful, because the Voynich manuscript isn't just an old puzzle, it's a reminder that the world still contains things that resist our best tools, and that resisting our tools is not the same thing as being meaningless. Sometimes the smartest move is not to force a neat answer, but to sit with the unresolved fact that a 600-year-old book can still make scientists, cryptographers, and regular curious people lean in and ask the same simple question: what were you for? And maybe that's the part worth carrying around with you. Not the fantasy that a hidden code is about to unlock civilization's secret stash, just the more grounded, more human idea that a real object can survive for centuries, make room for doubt, and still keep us thinking carefully. If you run into a claim that sounds too tidy, too fast, too certain, especially about something complex, the Voynich manuscript is a pretty good reminder to slow down, ask what's actually been shown, and keep one eyebrow raised. Not forever, just long enough to tell the difference between a pattern and an explanation.